In this video, we're going to talk about quirks in Reapack and in Alternator. The first part we're going to talk about buffering and how to get better playbacks without stutters. The second part we're going to talk about smooth seek and Reapack and how to get perfect transitions from one point to another. And at the last two parts we're going to talk about advanced settings in Alternator and at Reapack. You probably won't need to think about it a lot, and you will only need to change if you are having some trouble, okay? So the first thing we're going to talk about is that both Alternator and Reapack, they act a little before the time they should. For example, Alternator. If I alternate between these two items here, and alternate at loop, it won't alternate on exactly the moment it loops around. It will alternate just before it. It actually, if you want to know, is like 33 milliseconds before, more or less. This is because it's the way scripts work. I can't work it in more frequency than 33 Hertz, and is a Reaper limitation. I can't go around it. So the problem with that is that combined with Reaper buffering and changing a little earlier in time, you will have something like a stutter. So I will give a demonstration. First I will leave the buffering on, and then without the buffering, open your preference, and up here audio buffering. You can see the settings here. It's a default right now. You can see that will be a little gap in the sound. So if I play here and use Reapack to go from this section to this one, as you can see, there is like a stutter, like a ta-da, that shouldn't be there. Okay, this is because the buffering already buffered this part and then went to the new one. And if you turn off the buffering, this will be corrected mostly. You can change Reaper settings inside the script. Go Reaper settings and change the values. And now if I play here, so it's much better. It's not perfect yet, especially at Reapack. In Alternator it will be much better already, and I will show how to make Reapack now even a little better. So the Reapack, there is a way to be perfect in time, and the way is using smooth seek. You can open your Reaper preference and go here to audio and seeking and turn on smooth seek. Okay, so you can turn by going in the Reaper menu, but you can also go here settings, Reaper settings, and turning on smooth seek, and you can change now smooth seek at bars and markers, as is here, at markers or at bars. So first let's make it at bars. Okay, so it will sync with your project settings. So if your project is at markers, your seeking will also be at markers. If your seeking is at bars, your script will also be at bars. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that. So okay, we have smooth sync at bars. So let's see how it is now. As you can see, much better. It's actually perfect. But there is some quirks about smooth seek, and this is quirks inside Reaper. It's not much about my script, and there is not much I can do. And the thing is, it needs some time to do this, to go to calculate the next point. So if you call go to next region, for example, go to next region, and you call just before here, it won't go. Okay, so for example, if I just around here, I call it next here, it won't work. As you can see, I call it just before here, and it just triggered on the next bar. Okay, this is a Reaper quirk or a limitation or a bug, I don't know, but you can see that without any script. Just hit play with smooth seek. As you can see, I played with smooth seek and changed the position just before here, and it didn't change on time. So I already opened a thread to see if the devs work in this limitation or if it's a bug, I don't know, and I didn't have any answer yet. Maybe in the future we have this corrected, or maybe it's a limitation you can't go around, but it's not really documented anywhere, so it's a problem, and if they documented it would be pretty great. But going back to the script, okay, let's get back. It will work with smooth seek, there is no problem. It will actually work a little better, because as you can see, there will be not stuttering. Let me do it again. As you can see, it's perfect. The only thing is you need change a little before the time you are calling it. Okay, in my settings and in my computer, I calculated it is more or less 300 milliseconds before one triggering point. Okay. Oh, and I forgot to comment that going here in Reaper settings, these options you change here are actually the same options you change here going audio buffering. Okay, it's the same thing if you change in the scriptor here, as is with smooth seek, is the same thing. And I also must alert that having this lower will demand more from your computer, so big projects you might don't want to lower that a lot. So what my general thinking is, if it is sounding okay, don't change. But if you are getting trouble and want less stutter, you go and lower that. Okay. And if you are already using smooth seek and just Reago 2, you can leave the buffering on. You don't need to turn that lower, because with smooth seek it will already do the dirty work. But if you don't want to use smooth seek and are getting a lot of stutters, then you need to go down with your buffer size. Okay, so now we already talked about the sound part of how alternator and Reago 2 can have these stutters and how you can correct it or make it at least better. Now we're going to talk something that you probably won't need to think much about it, but if you are having trouble with it, then you can try some different settings. It's the advanced settings at both scripts. You go settings, advanced. Here you have one option. Here you have two. One is only if you are using smooth seek, and the other is the same thing at alternator. So we're going to talk a little about these two settings. Okay, so what is the problem? The problem is that it might not trigger when needed. So for example, with alternator, it's easier to demonstrate with it. I have this group here that is alternating between these two items, okay? And it is alternating at loop. So what it might have is that when you loop around, it actually don't change. It actually missed the loop, okay? So this happens because my script runs at 33 Hertz. I can't do nothing more to get it bigger. It's a request. Many scripters have to change that, but we can't right now. So the thing is, with these 33 Hertz scripts have, it is also unstable. So if you are doing many things like selecting things in the UI, it will get very low, this 33 Hertz, okay? So what my script do for compensate that is look more loops ahead to see if it is looping. So it won't just see, oh, until the next cycle it will be looping. No, it will look further, and this will, what this will have as impact is it will change even before the write time. So let's say if it didn't have any compensation, it would change like 33 milliseconds before. So something like even lower, something like this. It would change here. But as I am compensating, if you are compensated by 2, for example, it would change more or less here, okay, in this area. But the thing is, it will have much more chances of catching the loop. And by my tests here, if you put your compensation to 2, you normally don't have any problems. You don't need to think about it. You just leave a 2 and, well, you don't have any problem. But if you think 2 is too earlier, you can try lower that. But on the other hand, what will happen is sometimes it won't catch the loop, okay? So it's up to you. But I would advise you to leave a 2 or 2.5. They are okay values. Now I will just make a demonstration so you can see this thing I talked about, like missing a loop. So if I go settings, compensation, and put compensation at 1, so it won't have any compensation actually. It's at some point, it will loop around, but it won't really change the alternation as it should. So I will be playing from here and we will try to make it not work actually. Okay, it worked. Let's try again. Work it, try again. Work it. Work it. Work it. Okay, it could get a lot of time to catch this, but it was fast. So you can see it looped around, but it didn't change the item. So yeah, this is what will happen if you don't compensate. Okay, so compensate at least 2 here. And there is just one more thing that we must talk about is at Reago 2. And as the compensation, you don't really need to know about it. But if you are curious or if you are having some trouble, okay, let's see it then. So if you go settings, Reaper settings, and are using SmoothSeek, this is just if you are using SmoothSeek. If you are not, this doesn't apply at all. So go now to settings, advanced, and you have now SmoothSeek anticipate value. This value should match how much time SmoothSeek needs to change at Reaper. For example, as I demonstrated before, if I play and change just before here, as you can see, it didn't catch it as it should, and that we already talked. We don't know if it's a limitation, if it is a bug, we don't know. But my script needs to know the value it needs, okay? So in my tries, it is like 350, and if it isn't triggering on time, so let me put a wrong value here just to demonstrate what it might happen. So if I put like a very low value, what will happen is this. Okay, have you seen? It around here 100 milliseconds before changed the playhead, but as it changed too early from the time, Reaper didn't went there. It just changed to the playhead triggered to here, but it will change around here. It's the same thing if I was playing here and changing by hand like this. It's the exactly same thing. Okay, as you can see, it's the same thing. So if you are having this trouble, just keep increasing it until you have a value that works. I have found that this value can get bigger if you are using different drivers. Like if you are using direct sound from Windows, this value have to be much bigger. At ASIO and at my configurations, this is the right amount. You can put a very big value here, but the thing is you can cancel, like, let's make 1 second. The cancel button here will disappear much earlier, okay, and it will change 1 second earlier. Okay, so you have a play. As you can see, it will work, but it's strange. It is changing 1 second earlier, and it can change much more close to the triggering point. Okay, so these are the 3 scripts. I hope they are good for you making music, doing interactive music. So you save much more time going from Reaper to your middleware. You don't need to go back and forth many times. And again, if you like, please make a donation. I don't know, subscribe to this YouTube channel, report all the bugs you find, and that's it. Thank you.